Okay, hello second graders. Today we are looking at lesson 5-7 in our books. They're going to be asking us to subtract using compensation. So we're familiar with the strategy of compensation itself because we worked on that when we were doing addition. Now we're going to be using it with subtraction. And you're going to find that on page 291 in your books. So if you can go ahead, make sure you have your materials out for that. I'm going to share my workspace with you. Here we go. So I'm on lesson 5-7. That's page 281. And you'll notice Jada on that page. She has her workspace here. I'm going to go ahead and read this problem and you can follow along in your book. It says Yuri found 86 minus 29 using mental math. He changed 29 so it would be easier to find the difference. Show how Yuri could have found the difference. Explain how he could have used mental math. Okay, so we're going to take our first look today at compensation with subtraction. I'm going to begin by writing the problem up here at the top, and I would like you to go ahead and do the same. So we have 86 minus 29. Okay, and again, there's a problem that I'm working with, and I should have also underlined that he changed 29 so it would be easier to find the difference. Okay, so we know, as we've talked about a lot, that our brains really like working with tens, right? It makes it much more manageable for us to use mental math when we're working with tens. So when I look at the problem 86 minus 29, I'm noticing that 29 is really close to a 10, right? Did you guys see that also? I'm sure many of you did. The question is, what would I have to add to 29 to make it a 10? Right, I would just have to add one more, right? Because it's really close to 30. So for this strategy, I'm going to add 1 to 29. And whatever I do to one of those numbers to make it a 10, I have to also do to the other number. So I'm adding 1 to 29. So I'm going to come over here to my 86 and I'm going to add plus 1 to that one as well. Okay, now once I have my problem set up, then I'm going to put that big line underneath, right? Guys, remember this from compensating when we were adding? Big line goes right underneath. Okay, so now from this point, I'm going to add from top to bottom. Here, I already know that 29 plus 1 is going to give me 30. So I'm going to put that here. And 86 plus 1 is going to give me 87. Okay, and then from there, I'm just going to bring my subtraction sign down. So now my problem reads 87 minus 30. Well, that's much easier for my brain to figure out, right? Now, in the directions, it's asking us to explain how we could have used mental math. And so I'm going to draw a picture over here of what I want to be seeing in my brain as I'm thinking about 87 minus 30. When I see that, this is what I'm seeing in my brain. 87, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm picturing my base 10 blocks, right? And then I know that from that, I have to take 30. So I'm crossing out 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I know that my ones aren't being touched at all. Let's count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That makes sense, right? Because 80 take away 30 would leave me with 50, right? So now I have 50 and I still have 7 ones. So 57 is my difference, okay? Now, again, our goal, what we're working towards, is being able to visualize this type of picture in our minds without writing it out. But for now, writing it out is a great strategy to help support us as we get there. Okay, so 86 minus 29 gives me 57. Okay, all right, I am going to take a quick pause. Okay, I apologize about that interruption, boys and girls. If you needed any more time with this piece, you can also go ahead and pause the video on your end. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and move us forward to the next page, and we're going to take a look at these top boxes here to get some more practice, okay? So they give us the equation to begin with of 43 minus 18. 43 minus 18 is our equation. And this sentence tells us you can use compensation to make numbers that are easier to subtract. And that's really the goal of compensation, is to help us make tens so it's easier for our brains to figure out the answer. Jada says it is easier to subtract 20 than 18, right? So notice my original problem is 43 minus 18, and she's reminding us that, hey, 18 is really close to 20, and 20 would be a lot easier to do mental math, right? 43 minus 20 is much easier. So let's take a look at one way that we can accomplish that. One way is to add 2 to both numbers, then subtract using mental math. That's the same strategy that we used in our example problem, right? Is we added 1 to 29 to get to 30, and because we added 1 to that number, we went ahead and added 1 to the other number as well, and then we subtracted from there. So in this case, they need to add 2 because 18 is 2 away from a 10. So 18 plus 2 gave them 20, and because they added 2 here, they knew they had to add 2 to the other number as well. So 43 plus 2 equals 45. Now, you guys know that the one thing that I ask you to do that the book does not ask you to do is to put that big line once you have your compensation set up, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add that, and I would like you to do that as well. We're going to put a big line right under all of that where they added the 2's to each one. Okay, so then once I start going from top to bottom, I can see real clearly where I'm going to be writing my answer. So 43 plus 2 equals 45, and 18 plus 2 equals 20. Okay, and now this is what my new problem looks like, 45 minus 20. Okay, so if we're thinking mental math, right, I know I have 4 10s in 45, and I'm taking away 2 10s with that 20. So that would leave me with, yeah, 2 more 10s, and my 1s are not going to change. I'm still going to have 5. So my total answer there is 25. 45 take away 20 equals 25. Okay, now that's one way to do compensation when you are subtracting. I'm going to show you another way to do it. So here's another way. So it starts the same. We're going to add 2 to 18, okay? Then subtract using mental math. Then add 2 to the answer. Okay, so let's look at that step by step. Again, 43 minus 18, we know that 18 is really close to a 10, so they added 2. Now here's where I'm going to put a big line, right? I'm going to put a big line there. Then the next step is just to bring down, instead of adding another 2 to this other number that I'm subtracting from, I just bring it down, and I write 43 minus 20, because I did 18 plus 2 equals 20. So 43 minus 20 equals 23, right? Again, think about what 43 looks like. 10, 20, 30, 40, 1, 2, 3, and I'm taking 20 away. 1, 2, I'm left with 23, right? Okay, then from there, once I get my answer, my difference, that's when I'm going to again add 2 to the difference. So 23 plus 2 equals 25. So 43 minus 18 equals 25 is my final answer. And it's the same as my other problem where I compensated differently. Okay, so there's 2 different ways to compensate when you're subtracting. One is to is to add that number to both the number that I'm subtracting from and the number I'm subtracting. Another way is to make a 10 and then add that number not only to make a 10, but also to the difference that you get. Okay, let's go ahead and get some practice with these new strategies. So I'm going to look at the guided practice. The directions say, use compensation to make the numbers easier to subtract. Then solve, show your work. All right, number 1. My original equation is 25 minus 8. Okay, 8 is really close to a 10. I know 8 plus 2 more is going to give me a 10. So I'm going to add 2 to my 8. And then in this case, they're also adding 2 to the number I'm subtracting from. Okay, now the step that we take that they don't tell us in the book is to put a big line under there now, right? Big line. There we go. And now we're going to continue from top to bottom. So 52 plus 2 more gives me 54. And 8 plus 2 more gives me 10. Okay, now I have a problem where I'm subtracting with a 10, which is much easier. 54 take away 10 gives me 44, right? I'm just taking away 110. So 52 minus 8 equals 44. Okay, let's try that same strategy with number 2. First we're going to make a 10, and then we're going to do that same thing to the other number that I'm subtracting from. So here I have 76 minus 27. Okay, 27 is very close to a 10, right? What do I have to add to 27 to get to a 10? Well, let's see. 27, 28, 29, 30. Gosh, I just need to add 3 more. So I'm going to go ahead and write that plus 3 in my first box. And then to compensate, I'm going to add plus 3 also to my 76. Okay, then you guys know I'm going to add a big line right underneath. And now I'm going to work from top to bottom. So I have 76 plus 3. That gives me a total of 79, right? Because 6 plus 3 more is 9, so 79. And then 27 plus 3 gives me a total of 30. And then I just bring that subtraction sign down. So now my equation reads like this, 79 minus 30. Okay, again, if I'm thinking mental math, I know I have 7 tens here, and I need to take away 3 of those tens. So I'll be left with 4 tens, that's right, because 7 minus 3 is 4, and my ones are not going to change because I have no ones that I'm subtracting, right? So 79 minus 30 gives me a total of 49. Okay, so now I can take what I just calculated and bring it back up to the original equation. 76 minus 27 equals 49. Okay, now that is one way to do it. Let's look at the second way to do it with number 3. The original equation is 52 minus 15. Okay, so 15 is just 5 away from a 10, right? So they added 5. 15 plus 5 is going to give me a 20, which is a 10. And so this is, I'm going to go ahead and still put this line all the way across, right? And now what I'm doing essentially is I'm just pulling this 52 down. It's staying the same, but I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to pull down my subtraction sign, and I'm going to say 15 plus 5 to get my 10, which is 20. Okay. 52 minus 20 gives me a difference of 32, right? How do I know? What am I envisioning in my head? I'm envisioning 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 1, 2. I'm envisioning 52, and I'm taking away 2 tens, 1, 2. So I'm left with 10, 20, 30, and 2, 32. Now, I've added 5 to this number that I'm subtracting, but I didn't add 5 to this number. In this strategy, first I'm finding the difference, and then I'm adding 5 to that difference. Okay, so 32 plus 5 more gives me 37. So you can see instead of compensating here, I'm compensating after I find the difference. So 52 minus 15 equals 37. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get some more practice on that one with number 4, because that one's very different than we saw last when we were adding. Okay, so I have 93 minus 39. I know 39 is really close to a 10, right? All I'm going to do is add 1 plus 1. Now I'm going to put that big line going all the way across. I'm going to pull down my 93. So this first number is going to be 93. I'm going to pull down my subtraction sign. And now I'm going to go ahead and work from top to bottom. 39 plus 1 gives me 40. Okay, so now I have 93 minus 40. Again, I'm working on being able to do this in my head, but if you need support, I really encourage you to draw the picture. What does 93 look like? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 1, 2, 3. There's my 93. I'm taking 40 of those away. 10, 20, 30, 40, right? What am I left with? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 3, so 53. Okay, now I've added 1 here, so I need to compensate after I find my difference. So I added 1, I'm going to add 1 to my difference, so 53 plus 1 more gives me 54. That is my final answer. 93 minus 39 equals 54. Okay, so those are the 2 different ways that you can compensate when you're subtracting. I'm going to take a guess that for many of you, you are going to find one way that you prefer. And once you find that way, I would encourage you to stick with that way, because it can get confusing, especially at the very beginning when you're going back and forth. Today, we're going to be working on both ways. That way you get a feel for which way you're more comfortable with, right? The other thing that I'll share is I've noticed that lots of friends in the past do prefer that first way that we showed, where we make a 10 and then we go ahead and we add that same number to the number that we're subtracting from. I found that most friends prefer that strategy because it's much closer to what we did when we were adding and using the compensation strategy. So you might find that as well, but you might also prefer the second way. So that's why when you look at your book today, you can see they're going to give you 3 chances to try it that second way and 3 chances to try it that first way. So you can kind of figure out what you're more comfortable with. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to do 2 examples together. We're going to do number 5 together, and we're going to do number 8 together. The independent practice directions tell us to use compensation to make numbers that are easier to subtract, then solve and show your work. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with number 5, and you can see based on the boxes that they give us that for this strategy with compensation, I'm going to be finding my 10, adding to make a 10, and then I'm going to add it again to my difference. Right? You can tell that by the way they have the boxes set up. So let's go ahead and see 73 minus 9 is my original equation. Now what do I have to add to 9 to get to a 10? Right, plus 1. So everyone write plus 1 in your books. And then from here, that's where I'm going to make that big line going all the way across, right? Okay, once you have that line, the next step is to pull down your 73. So we're going to pull that down. We're going to pull down our subtraction sign. And then we're going to solve from top to bottom. 9 plus 1 more gives me 10. Okay, so now look at my new problem, 73 minus 10. Wow, that's a lot easier, right? 73 minus 10 gives me 63. I'm going to write that there. And now I haven't yet done the compensation part. I added 1 to my 9 to make 10, so now I have to add 1 to my difference. 63 plus 1 more gives me a total of 64. Okay, so my final difference is 64. All right, that's one way to use compensation with subtraction. For number 8, we're going to look at the other way. I have 51 minus 27. 27 is very close to a 10. How many do I need to add to 27? Let's see, 27, 28, 29, 30. I need to add 3 more to get to a 10. Okay, so I'm going to add 3 to my 27, and I'm also going to add 3 to 51. I'll do that in both places. Okay, now I'm set up. I'm going to make that big line going across. You can do that in your book also. And now I'm going to start solving from top to bottom. 51 plus 3 more gives me 54, right? Because 1 plus 3 is 4. And then I bring down my 5. Okay, and 27 plus 3 gives me 30, right? So what we're working on is getting to that 10. So now I have 54 minus 30. That's much easier to solve. I have 5 10s in 54. I have 3 10s in 30. 5 10s take away 3 10s is going to give me 2 10s. So my difference is going to be 24 because my ones are staying the same. Okay. Again, if that is tricky for you to visualize, not a problem. You have space down here. 54, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm taking 30 away. So 10, 20, 30 is what I'm crossing out. And I'm left with 2 10s and 4 1s for a total of 24. Okay, so I can take that and use it to help me with 51 minus 27. Also going to be 24. Okay, all right, so now you have ahead of you 2 more of the strategy where you're making a 10 and then adding that same number to the difference. And then 2 more of the strategy where you're making a 10 and adding that same number to the number you're subtracting from. Okay, so you're going to complete number 6 and 7 and 9 and 10. Again, this is a newer strategy, first time working with compensating with subtraction problems. So be patient with yourself. If you have questions, bring them to our Google Meets and we can talk about it then. Okay? All right, guys, other than that, I hope you are having a really great day and I'll be seeing you very soon. Okay? Take care, guys. Bye.